I was blindfolded, sweating through my shirt, hands trembling slightly even though I kept telling myself this was just a Father's Day surprise. "Trust us," Rachel had said that morning, her voice sweet, a little too sweet. Lily had chimed in with a forced laugh that barely masked her nervous energy. Something was off, and my gut knew it before my mind ever caught up. I was sitting in the back seat of my own car, the one Rachel usually refused to drive because it's too stiff. Her hands were on the wheel now, driving with a mechanical calmness, while Lily sat beside me in silence, no humming, no TikTok videos, no teasing me about how bad my dad jokes were. Just silence. That alone was enough to set my nerves on edge. It wasn't the kind of silence you get when someone's planning something fun. It was the kind of silence you hear before a judge reads out a sentence. And then came that smell cologne. Masculine, deep, not mine. Not anyone's I knew. It hit me like a slap. Faint, but real. Lingering. I knew that scent didn't belong to either of us. I didn't say a word. I didn't want to believe what I was starting to think. But I pressed my tongue to the roof of my mouth and swallowed hard, like maybe that would push the suspicion back down where it belonged. When we stopped, Rachel helped me out like I was fragile, guiding me with her hand on my elbow. I could hear Lily behind us, but her footsteps were hesitant. Her breathing quickened the closer we got. I could hear it. And then a door. The swish of air conditioning. The smell of printer toner and carpet cleaner. Rachel's voice turned syrupy, fake. "Okay, baby, now." She pulled off the blindfold, and for a split second, I thought maybe it was a prank. Maybe the punchline was coming. But then I saw it: oak-paneled walls, framed degrees, a middle-aged man in a blue tie behind a wide glass desk. "Mr. Harris," the man said smoothly, like this was all scheduled, like I'd just come from brunch and not been dragged blindfolded into this sterile, foreign place. Lily looked like she wanted to disappear. She was holding her phone in both hands, gripping it like a lifeline, her eyes darting between me and the floor. Rachel gave me that smile. The one she used to give when she wanted something. "It's just some documents," she said lightly, reaching into her purse without waiting for a response. The lawyer slid a folder in front of me. "A few things to go over. Just signatures," he said. "Standard protection agreements. Nothing binding yet. Don't worry." That word, yet clanged in my brain like a dropped iron bar. I opened the folder. Pages and pages of legalese. My name. Rachel's name. Something about shared ownership. Something about deferred stock options. Something about relinquishing primary control. My throat went dry. "Why are we doing this today?" I asked. I didn't look at her. I stared at the papers like they were going to explode. Rachel didn't answer directly. She placed a pin between my fingers. "Just sign it. It's all for us. You've been so busy lately. This makes things easier, for later." I looked at Lily. She was pale. Her lip quivered for a half-second before she bit it and looked away. Something deep inside me, a cold instinct honed from years in business, told me to stop, to ask more questions, to walk out. But I didn't. I didn't want to ruin Father's Day. I didn't want to call my daughter a liar with my eyes. I didn't want to believe Rachel could possibly be doing what I now suspected she was doing. So I signed. Not everything. Just the first page. Then another. And in that moment, as the pen scratched across the paper, I didn't know I was signing away the very company I built from scratch. I didn't know I was walking straight into a setup years in the making. And I definitely didn't know that 7 days later, the world would be reading my name on Forbes, thinking I was a genius, while Rachel would be begging me, sobbing into 82 voicemails, after learning who the real owner of the crypto IPO was. But right now, I was just a blindfolded man pretending to smile for his wife and daughter in an office that reeked of betrayal. For the next 3 days, I told myself I was overreacting. I buried that moment, under work emails, gym sessions, half-distracted dinners. But it didn't die. It festered, like a splinter too deep to reach but too painful to forget. I kept thinking about Lily's face. How she didn't hug me afterward. How she bolted into her room like she'd just helped bury a body. And Rachel? She was suddenly radiant. Euphoric. She hummed while doing laundry. She kissed me on the cheek again, after weeks of nothing but tired sighs and later, "Babe." It was fake. All of it. I knew that now. She'd gotten what she wanted. What exactly that was, I still wasn't sure. The documents I signed weren't in my hands. They hadn't been emailed to me. I'd asked Rachel for a copy, casually. She smiled and said, "Oh, the lawyer said he'd send them. Don't stress over it." Then she changed the subject with a kiss on the neck that felt like being chloroformed. I checked my email every hour. Nothing. Day 4, I drove to the office. Not mine, the lawyer's. The one with the oak-paneled walls and the snake in a blue tie. I parked across the street and watched for 20 minutes like some amateur detective. He was there. I went in. His receptionist, a woman in her late 20s with a voice like gravel and bubblegum, greeted me with a fake smile. "Do you have an appointment?" "No," I said, keeping my tone calm. "I'm Mark Harris. I signed paperwork here last weekend. I want copies." She tapped her keyboard. Paused. That file is marked confidential. I'm not allowed to give you anything unless Mrs. Harris." I laughed. Out loud. The kind of laugh that tastes like blood. "I am Mark Harris." She blinked. "Sir, I understand. But Rachel Harris is listed as primary." Primary. That one word flipped a switch. I didn't scream. I didn't break anything. I just left. I didn't even remember starting the car. My mind was in a fog. Primary. What had I signed? What the hell had she pulled off under my nose? Back home, she was in the backyard sipping wine. Middle of the afternoon. Sunglasses on. Feet up. Like she was on a cruise, not living in my house. "Hey, babe," she called out, not bothering to look up. "Why is your name listed as primary on the paperwork?" I asked directly. That got her attention. She lowered her sunglasses slowly, like it was part of some movie scene she'd rehearsed. "You really went down there," she said, her tone coated in contempt. "Jesus, Mark. Don't be so dramatic. Answer the question." She stood, walked toward me slowly, glass in hand. "It's a precaution. You've been so buried in work lately. I just wanted to make sure things were stable. In case something happened to you." My jaw clenched. "So you had me blindfolded to sign legal rights over to you?" She didn't flinch. "You're acting like this is betrayal or something. It's a family business, Mark. You trust me, don't you?" That's when I saw it, her pupils twitching. Just a flash. But enough. She was lying. And it wasn't just about the business. That cologne. That silence from Lily. That look between them in the office. There was another layer. Something I hadn't touched yet. Something filthy. She reached out, touched my chest. "You're getting paranoid," she whispered. "It's not attractive." I stepped back. "I want copies of everything. Today." Her smile vanished. "Mark, don't ruin this." "Not today. Not like this." "I already did," I said. She turned and walked inside. No shouting. No panic. Just cold, calculating silence. I stood there, staring at the place where she'd been standing, and I knew this wasn't just about some signatures. This wasn't about power. This was war. And I had no idea how deep it went yet. But I'd find out. I had to. I didn't sleep that night. Not a single minute. Rachel came to bed late, well after midnight. She didn't bother pretending this time. No explanation, no fake kiss on the cheek, just a quick swipe through her phone screen before plugging it into the charger and rolling to her side. Back to me. Like I was already a memory. I lay there in the dark, eyes wide open, staring at the ceiling while my mind spiraled. Every flicker of her screen, every click of her heels this past month, every dinner she said she'd already eaten, it all lined up now like a trail of gasoline. And I had already lit the match. At 4 in the morning, I got up, made coffee I didn't need, opened my laptop and pulled up every account we shared, bank, investments, corporate dashboards. I was ready to dig. But when I opened the crypto investment portal I'd built from the ground up, the very foundation of our family business, I hit a wall. Access revoked. My own damn company. My code. My infrastructure. And now I was a guest locked out of my own creation. I tried not to panic. Tried not to imagine Rachel sitting in front of a lawyer a week earlier, smirking while explaining how her husband was too distracted to see what's happening. I pictured her handing over papers I signed under the guise of a Father's Day surprise. My breathing went shallow. My hand hovered over the mouse. I opened our shared savings account next. Gone. Over $400,000. Vanished. Not drained completely, no. That would have been too obvious. Instead, little transactions, spread over 2 months. Most to a private LLC I'd never heard of. The name sounded like a fake wellness brand, Silver Harbor Strategies. But I wasn't stupid. Rachel had laundered our money through that shell while I was busy prepping for IPO meetings. I clicked through the transaction logs again. Every transfer was timestamped late at night, between 2 and 4 a.m., when I was asleep. Or worse, when she told me she was out walking to clear her head. She cleared something all right. By 7 a.m., I had a plan. I waited until Lily came down for breakfast. She looked tired, dark rings under her eyes, hair unbrushed, eyes fixed to her phone. I watched her as she opened the fridge, pretending I wasn't in the room, pretending everything was normal. "Hey," I said quietly. "Can I ask you something?" She paused. "Sure." "Why did you go silent in the lawyer's office?" She froze, orange juice bottle halfway to the counter. "I didn't," she said too quickly. "You did. You couldn't even look at me." She finally turned around. Her voice dropped to almost a whisper. "It wasn't my idea, Dad." My pulse kicked. What wasn't? She opened her mouth, then stopped. Glanced up the stairs. "She said it was to protect the company. To protect us from you blowing it all on tech stuff." I swallowed the lump in my throat. "So she coached you. She said you'd forgive us once it was over." Us. There it was. The plural. The betrayal wasn't just Rachel's. Lily had been looped in. Not just as a witness, but as part of the con. My own daughter. I leaned back in my chair, suddenly exhausted. "Did she tell you to lie to me?" Lily looked down. "She told me it's not lying if it's for the good of the family." That sentence. That rehearsed, robotic line. It wasn't Lily's. It was Rachel's voice, coming from my daughter's mouth. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just nodded. "Finish your juice," I said. I left the house 10 minutes later and drove to the one person Rachel would never suspect I'd go to, Trevor Sims. Trevor was a private investigator who owed me a favor from years back when I saved his ass during an ugly divorce. He'd once tracked down a guy who tried to flee the country with his secretary and a stolen yacht. I knew he could dig faster than I ever could. "You want me to tell your wife?" he asked, eyebrows raised, cigarette dangling from his lips. "I want everything," I said. "Her meetings. Her transfers. Her calls. If she's breathing next to someone, I want to know who it is." He didn't ask for details. Just nodded and pulled out a notepad. "Give me 48 hours. I gave him 24. As I left his office, I had one thought echoing through my head like a war drum. She didn't just steal my company. She was planning something else. And next time, she wouldn't need to blindfold me. Because the knife wouldn't go in my back. It would go straight through the chest. The next morning, my phone buzzed before sunrise. It was Trevor. One new voicemail. No text. No preamble. Just a single message with a timestamp of 4:41 a.m. I put the phone to my ear, heart thudding like a bass drum, and pressed play. His voice came low, clipped, focused. "Mark, she's not just moving money. She's moving with someone. Black Range Rover. Same guy. Third night in a row. Same condo complex off Rosemont. He stays till just before dawn. She leaves 10 minutes later. Always the same routine. No calls between them. All communications in person or burned after use. I'm sending you a photo. Call me when you get this." I didn't move. Didn't breathe. My fingers hovered over the screen as the photo came in. Rachel. Her hair pulled into that lazy updo she used to wear on our dates. The one she said made her feel young and dangerous. Her hand was on the doorframe of a condo unit I'd never seen, her mouth mid-laugh. Not a fake one either. Real. The kind of laugh I hadn't heard from her in over a year. Beside her, a man. Early 40s, tailored jacket, salt and pepper beard, expensive watch that screamed, "I don't care what it costs." He was close. Too close. His hand rested lightly on her hip like it belonged there. I stared at the photo for a full 5 minutes. My chest felt like it had collapsed in on itself. Not from the sight of her with another man, but from the final, brutal confirmation of what I'd been pretending not to know. This wasn't just about the company. This was calculated. Planned. Layered. She'd seduced me into signing everything over, while already moving her life into a new address, with a new man, with my money. I dropped the phone on the table. It clattered, screen down. I couldn't look at her face a second longer. I opened my laptop, logged into an old server I hadn't touched since the early crypto days. Buried in those logs was something Rachel had forgotten about, a hidden API key tied to our prototype chain. One she didn't know still had back-end access to the ledger data. Not control, just observation. But that was enough. Enough to see who was moving currency and where it was going. I watched the numbers in real time. A cascade of transactions pinged from dummy wallets I didn't recognize, each routing through foreign exchanges, clean as bleach, then dumped into a final receiving account. All of it traced back to the same name. Charles D. Levant, a man I'd never met, never even heard of. But the same initials showed up on a legal doc Rachel had once left half-folded on the kitchen counter last year. Back then, she said it was a tax consultant. I didn't question it. Now I realized I should have questioned everything. A fast search turned up an old press release from a boutique financial firm. Charles Levant, senior partner and blockchain consultant. One image matched the man in Trevor's photo exactly. She'd been planning this for over a year, and I'd been sleeping next to her while she did it. Around noon, Rachel came home, wearing gym clothes. Hair slicked back, face flushed, that fake bottle of Voss water in hand. Pilates ran long, she said, kicking off her shoes like nothing had happened. I stared at her like I was seeing a ghost. My voice came low and flat. You sleep well at Rosemont? Her back stiffened for a split second, so fast an average man would have missed it. But I'd studied her for years. She turned around slowly, lips curling upward in a twisted grin. You had me followed? I stood. Who is he? She walked to the fridge like I hadn't said a word. You know, that's exactly the kind of behavior that makes you look unstable. You think I look unstable? Wait till the board finds out about the shell company you funneled assets through. I've got your paper trail. You used my signature to move over $400,000 into your boyfriend's condo fund. She slammed the fridge shut. You think anyone will believe you? She hissed. I've already told them you've been spiraling, that you've been paranoid, that you were planning to move everything overseas and leave me and Lily behind. That bitch. She created a counter-narrative before the first blow ever landed. You used our daughter, I whispered. Rachel looked at me like I was a moron. She's not a child anymore. She knows who's holding this family together. And guess what? It's not the guy jerking off to code at 3 in the morning. For a second, I didn't recognize the woman in front of me. This wasn't a person I had built a life with. This was a stranger wearing her face. But I didn't raise my voice. I didn't threaten her. I just smiled. Slowly. Because what she didn't know, what Charles Levant didn't know, was that one of those wallets they used to funnel funds. It was mine. The key had been buried in a forgotten dev node, never decommissioned. And I was about to take back everything. Quietly. One move at a time. The next 48 hours, I didn't say a word to Rachel. I didn't accuse, didn't shout, didn't even look at her longer than I had to. I was done playing defense. She thought she had already won. That was her first mistake. Her second was underestimating what I could do when I stopped trying to protect her. I moved with the calm of a man who had nothing left to lose. Woke up early. Made breakfast. Pretended to take calls outside while I restructured back-end credentials through the one dev shell she didn't know about. I rerouted every traceable ping through virtual dead zones across 3 countries. No one, not even Levant with his boutique blockchain wizardry, was going to see it coming. The next phase wasn't revenge. Not yet. It was positioning. I made 3 calls that afternoon. First to Archer, my former CTO. The guy who left after Rachel forced us to downsize 2 months ago, which, at the time, I believed was due to budget shifts. Now I knew better. Rachel had wanted him gone because he was loyal to me. When I called, he didn't hesitate. I knew something was off, he said. Rachel never understood the architecture. She started bringing in her own consultants and pushing weird compliance documents. Levant, I said flatly. He exhaled hard. That piece of sh*t with the ridiculous watches? Yeah, that guy. I figured he was a clown with money, but Rachel was treating him like a guru. I sent him the ledger logs, the hidden API keys, the wallet trails. Holy F***, K, Archer muttered. This is dude. This is criminal. Good, I said, because I'm done being civil. Second call was to Harper and Finch, the firm I'd used before Rachel pushed me toward her friendlier, legal team. I scheduled a private consult under my old business trust, one she didn't know still existed. When I explained the situation to the partner, his only response was, "How deep do you want this knife to go?" "As deep as it needs to." I forwarded every doc, every timestamp. Every digital breadcrumb Rachel and her lover left. By the time the call ended, I had full documentation of unauthorized fund transfers, misrepresentation, identity manipulation, and conflict of interest surrounding Rachel's appointment as managing partner, none of which would hold up if I exposed the fraudulent context behind the paperwork I'd signed blindfolded. The third call? That one was the most painful. Lily. I texted her to meet me for lunch. Neutral place. No confrontation. She showed up late, dragging her feet, hoodie up, eyes low. Not a hint of her usual energy. Thanks for coming, I said. She didn't answer right away. When she finally looked at me, there was shame in her face. Not guilt, shame. A difference only a father could recognize. I didn't want to pick sides, she said quietly. I thought Mom was trying to help. She said you were unstable. And you believed her? I believed she was scared, she said. She told me if we didn't act now, we'd lose everything. That you were going to move the business out of the country. That you had a secret account. I nodded slowly. Let that sink in. She told you I was hiding things from you. Lily nodded. Well, I said, she was right about one thing. She blinked. What? I do have a secret account. She looked confused, almost startled. I never used it. Not until now. But it's where I pulled everything she and Charles tried to launder. Her breath caught. You did what? I let her think she outplayed me. I needed her to feel secure. So she'd keep slipping. Silence stretched between us. Then Lily said, in a voice barely above a whisper, is that why she's been so happy this week? I leaned forward. Lily, what I'm about to do next might be ugly. People are going to talk. Lawyers will get involved. I'm not asking you to choose sides. I just want you to know you're not part of this war. She swallowed hard. Dad, she lied to both of us, didn't she? I nodded. Every day for a year. Lily looked down at her untouched plate. Her fingers trembled. She said I had to grow up. That family means making hard choices. I thought I was helping you. You were helping her survive, I said gently. But you didn't know she was holding the knife behind her back. When we left the diner, she hugged me. For the first time in weeks. She didn't say a word. She didn't have to. By nightfall, Trevor sent another message. Levant's condo was empty. Everything packed. Gone. And Rachel? She was in our kitchen laughing, pouring wine, playing music, as if she hadn't just burned the life we built to the King ground. I stood in the doorway and watched her. The bottle of wine she poured from? A gift from me. 2 anniversaries ago. That was the moment I decided. No courtroom. No reconciliation. This wouldn't end in mediation. This would end on my terms. And she wouldn't see it coming until it was already over. The next morning, the first domino fell. Rachel didn't notice it right away. She strutted into the kitchen wearing a silk robe that used to mean something. Now it just looked like a costume. She poured her usual green smoothie, glanced at me scrolling through my phone, and said in that smug tone she used when she thought she was 2 steps ahead, "You're quiet lately. Working on something big." I looked up at her and smiled. Just enough to make her squint. Yeah, I said. Something like that. She didn't ask what. She never asked real questions anymore. Just the kind you ask when you already think you know the answer. That was her biggest flaw. Rachel always believed she was the smartest one in the room. She left for her training session at exactly 9 a.m. I waited 3 minutes, then slipped into the home office and opened the secure remote shell. I wasn't done laying the groundwork. I was ready to flip the switch. First move, freeze the burn. I triggered a smart contract embedded deep in our prototype ledger, one Rachel never bothered to learn about. It was meant to protect against fraud if an internal wallet started leaking tokens. Funny thing about building something from scratch, you know where every fuse box lives. The moment I hit confirm, any assets moved out of the original seed wallets, her shell LLC included, became tethered to a traceable rollback function. In English, anything she'd moved was now a phantom asset. It looked real. She could still see the numbers. But when she tried to spend it, transfer it, or convert it, it would vanish. Gone. Like it had never existed. Second move, the bleed. I reactivated the dormant partner wallet from our initial series of funding, a wallet tied to Archer's credentials. Legally, it was still considered silent reserve capital. Rachel had overlooked it in her little power grab. I transferred the entire reserve, over $2.4 million worth of capital, into a fresh cold wallet under the trust one re-established last week with Harper and Finch. Then I locked the wallet with a 72-character hash phrase she would never break. Not without me. By the time she came back from her workout, I'd already moved to phase 3. The leak. I sent the entire audit report, compiled with Archer's help and notarized by our legal team, to the Forbes editorial team. No name, no sender, just a subject line. You're about to print a story about the wrong founder. Attached was a package detailing the shell companies, the asset transfers, the faked filings, and most importantly, the manipulated co-founder contract I'd been blindfolded into signing. I didn't care if they ran it yet. I just wanted Rachel to start sweating. She waltzed through the door at 11:17 a.m. and froze, right in the hallway. "Where's the painting?" she asked. Her voice wasn't aggressive, more like confused. The abstract canvas that used to hang in our entryway, the one she said set the tone of the home. It wasn't expensive, but it was symbolic. A wedding gift. She'd insisted it go there. I had taken it down that morning and replaced it with a blank white canvas. "Threw it out," I said. Didn't feel like it belonged anymore. She stared at it. At me. Something flickered behind her eyes. Not fear. Not yet. But suspicion. She walked into the kitchen, picked up her phone from the counter, then froze again. "Why can't I log into the crypto ledger?" "Bingo." I shrugged. "Maybe you forgot your password." She walked over, slowly. "Mark, don't F***K with me right now. I'm serious." I turned to face her. Calm. Even. Ready. "Rachel, you already F***K'd me. For months. With Charles Levant, right? Just consider this round 2. Her face drained of color. And for the first time in months, maybe years, she didn't have a single comeback ready. No sarcasm. No fake indignation. Just silence. "You froze my assets," she finally whispered. "No," I said. "I just showed you what it feels like to be blindfolded." She flinched. It was subtle, but it was real. "I'll call my lawyer," she snapped, regaining her footing like a cornered animal. "You mean my lawyer?" I corrected. "You know, the one who filed the fraud suit an hour ago." Her mouth opened, closed. Her breathing turned shallow. "Do you really think they'll believe you?" she spat. "They'll say you're being vindictive. That you're just a bitter husband getting revenge." "Maybe," I said. "But I'm not just a husband, Rachel. I'm the guy who kept the chain running. I'm the one with the receipts. And I'm not playing this in court." I stepped closer. "You're going to undo every transfer. You're going to walk into that office and tell them I was forced to sign those documents under false pretenses. You're going to give me back everything." She laughed, cold and bitter. "And if I don't?" I smiled. Then I dropped the real bomb. "Then the next Forbes headline won't be about our IPO." She blinked. "It'll be about how your affair with Levant was used to orchestrate financial fraud, manipulate stakeholder assets, and coerce your own daughter into legal collusion." She stared at me, dead still, like she just realized the floor under her wasn't real. She knew. I'd already written the article, signed by a whistleblower under the alias Project Echo. Her voice came out as a hiss. "You planned this. You started this," I said. Then I walked past her, out the door, and left her standing in the ruins she thought she'd built for herself. She thought it was checkmate. She hadn't even realized I'd flipped the board. By the time the sun set that evening, the house felt different. Not quieter. Rachel was never the type to scream. Her chaos was the elegant kind. Cold. Controlled. The kind that smiled at you while burying the knife just below your ribs. But now? Now there was tension she couldn't hide. The kind that fills a room when a predator realizes it's been marked. I watched her from the upstairs hallway as she paced through the living room, phone glued to her ear, whispering too low for me to hear. She'd taken her conversation into the guest bathroom, turned the faucet on for cover. I smiled. Rookie move. I had installed an ambient mic in that vent back in March, originally just to monitor sound interference during remote calls. Now, it was my personal wiretap. I slipped into my office and hit monitor. Static. Then voices. "No, he knows, Charles. I don't know how, but he's inside the system. He's frozen the assets. No, I can't access anything. The lawyer won't pick up now, and Mark's not bluffing. He's never been this quiet. This calm. Pause. What do you mean, relocate? No, we're not doing that. Not until I fix this. We're too close. Another pause. Then, he spoke to Lily. I don't know what he told her, but she hugged him. In public. That's not good. That's not F***king good. Click. She hung up. I stared at the waveform still bouncing on my screen. Heart thudding, not from fear. From vindication. She was spiraling. And she knew it. That night, I didn't go to bed. I sat on the patio under the stars, drinking scotch I'd been saving for a celebration I once thought would be with her. Now, I was toasting something else entirely the moment the Queen realized the board wasn't hers to control anymore. The next morning, she tried to play nice. She wore that dress. The deep green one with the slit up the side. The one I'd once bought her on a whim in Miami, back when she still smiled with her eyes. She made eggs. Bacon. Poured coffee. I sat at the table and didn't touch any of it. You're still mad, she said, stirring her cup like this was just a cold spat between lovers. I didn't look up. Rachel, I've been mad. What I am now is done. She leaned on the counter, arms folded. So what? You ruin me? You destroy Lily's mother? You make this a public scandal because I made a few bad calls. I met her eyes. This isn't about bad calls. This is about betrayal. Fraud. Manipulation. You didn't just lie. You restructured my life behind my back, used our daughter, used our business, and now you're crying, but I'm her mother, like that makes you untouchable. She dropped the mask then. Not all at once, just a crack. But it was enough. You always needed to be the hero, she said, her voice low. You needed the world to clap when you walked in the room. You're not mad I lied. You're mad I beat you at your own game. You didn't beat me, I said. You just made me stop playing yours. She stared at me, jaw set, and I saw the fire come back. The desperation flickering behind her lashes. Fine, she snapped. What do you want? You already pulled the plug on the wallets. You humiliated me. You think I don't know what you sent to Forbes? They've already contacted me. I stood up. Here's what's going to happen, I said. Tomorrow, you're going to walk into the board meeting and resign. You're going to sign the reversal papers Archer prepared, transferring everything back to me. Every share. Every title. You're going to release a statement that this was all a misunderstanding, your mistake, your mismanagement. And if I don't? I lean closer. Then Project Echo becomes real. And the world finds out not just what you did, but how far you were willing to go. That you blindfolded your own husband to sign away his company. That you laundered funds through a fake wellness brand to cover your affair with a consultant you snuck into my boardroom. That you coached your own daughter to lie. She didn't blink, but her hands clenched the edge of the counter like she was holding onto the last piece of ground beneath her. You won't do that to Lily, she said. I stared at her. You already did. And I walked out. Later that night, Lily knocked softly on my office door. She didn't say much, just handed me something, an envelope. Inside were 3 folded pages. Handwritten. I found this in Mom's nightstand, she said. It's dated 3 months ago. I opened the letter. It was addressed to Charles. Rachel had been planning to dissolve the business under my name after the IPO and reroute the liquidation to an offshore trust. She even wrote, once the press settles down, we disappear. He's brilliant but soft. He won't see it until it's too late. Lily stood there, pale. I didn't know, she whispered. I believe you, I said. And for the first time in weeks, something inside me settled. This wasn't about survival anymore. It was about justice. And we were just getting started. I didn't go to the office the next morning. Didn't need to. Everything I needed was already in motion. Archer was scheduled to meet the board in less than an hour, armed with the reversal documents, the fraud packet, and an airtight contingency plan signed off by Harper and Finch. Rachel had no idea she was walking into a loaded chamber. She left the house in her usual power suit, makeup sharp, lips painted in that deep crimson she always wore when she wanted to appear untouchable. She blew a kiss as she walked past the living room. I didn't look up. 10 minutes after she left, I followed. Not to the office. To Rosemont. To him. Trevor had been tracking Levant's fallback plan. He hadn't relocated, like Rachel said. He'd simply moved to another unit in the same building, different name on the lease, different burner phone, same habits. These people weren't clever. They were just rich and lazy. When I knocked, he opened the door with a confident smirk, clearly expecting someone else. Then he saw me, and his entire posture changed. "You've got 10 seconds to close that door and walk away," he said, but his voice cracked. I didn't move. I stepped forward. "I'm not here to fight you, Charles," I said calmly. "I'm here to offer you a choice." He tilted his head, suspicious. "You think you scare me?" "No," I said. "I think the SEC will." That got his attention. I pulled a flash drive from my jacket. Inside this drive is a full ledger of every token movement tied to your wallet IDs. I also have transaction logs showing the timestamps lining up with Rachel's IP, down to the second. Inconveniently, I now have a handwritten letter from her address to you, outlining how you were going to help her collapse my company and funnel the assets offshore. He stared at the drive like it was radioactive. "What do you want?" "Simple," I said. "You disappear. Today. You send Rachel a message, vague, cold. Something that makes it clear you were using her. That you've moved on. Then you transfer every asset tied to Silver Harbor Strategies back to the Origin wallet. You do that, and this never sees daylight." He narrowed his eyes. "And if I don't?" I stepped closer. "I've already drafted a submission packet to the Financial Crimes Division and copied 3 journalists. You're not the only one with contacts, Charles. And unlike you, I don't mind watching people burn." He waited for a moment, then nodded once. "Give me 2 hours." I left without shaking his hand. By the time I got back to the house, the board meeting had started. I tuned in remotely using a hidden admin account Archer set up before his exit. The Zoom feed was all business suits and silence. Rachel sat at the head of the conference table. She didn't know the papers waiting in front of her weren't proposals. They were her full surrender. Archer cleared his throat. "Before we begin, I'd like to bring attention to a situation that's recently come to light regarding the legality of Rachel Harris's appointment as managing director." Her eyes flicked to him. "Excuse me. In the interest of full transparency," he continued, "we've received credible evidence that the documents used to transfer control from Mr. Harris to Mrs. Harris were obtained under coercive and deceptive conditions." A murmur went around the room. Rachel's voice dropped a full octave. "This is ridiculous." "No," Archer said, sliding the evidence packet across the table. "This is criminal. And unless you'd like this to go public, we suggest you sign the reversal forms now and exit quietly." Rachel didn't move. For 10 full seconds, she just sat there. Then she laughed. "Do you all really think this will hold up? That anyone will take Mark's word over mine? That some bitter ex and a disgruntled CTO are enough to undo a legal transfer?" That's when Archer pressed play on the audio. Rachel's voice, clear as day. "Once the press settles down, we disappear. He's brilliant but soft. He won't see it until it's too late." The room fell silent. One of the partners turned to her. "You wrote that." Her mouth opened. Nothing came out. She didn't laugh again. 10 minutes later, the documents were signed. Rachel Harris resigned from the company she tried to steal. She exited the boardroom without a word. But she wasn't finished yet. At 6:42 p.m., my phone buzzed. A text from her. "You think this is over?" I stared at the screen for a long moment. Then I typed back. "It's barely started," because she still didn't understand. This wasn't a collapse. This was a demolition. And I was the one holding the detonator. I expected her to go quiet for a few days. Lick her wounds. Recalibrate. But Rachel never took a loss like a normal person. She wasn't the type to retreat. She was the kind who set the building on fire if she couldn't own it. The morning after her resignation, I woke up to a knock on the front door. I opened it in a t-shirt and sweatpants, half expecting a courier or Trevor with an update. Instead, it was a manila envelope duct taped to my doorknob. No label, no signature, just my name written in thick black Sharpie, all caps. I brought it inside, sat at the dining table, and opened it with a steak knife. Inside were prints of photos. Still shots from a security cam. All of me. Me in my car. Me entering the condo at Rosemont. Me stepping out of Charles Levant's unit. A sticky note attached read. "Looks like someone's been busy. Wonder what Lily would think." There was no sender. But I didn't need one. Rachel had gone nuclear. This was her attempt at a counterstrike. She couldn't hit me legally, couldn't touch the business anymore. But she knew where to aim. Lily. My daughter was my soft spot. The one piece left untouched in this entire war until now. And Rachel was threatening to use her like a human shield. It was disgusting, but not unexpected. By noon, I got a call from Trevor. "She's making moves," he said without preamble. "Meeting with a litigation specialist. Guy's known for dragging divorces through the mud. High profile. Tabloid friendly. What angle? She's going to try and flip this. Recast everything. Say you manipulated her. Emotional abuse, financial gatekeeping, digital surveillance. I wouldn't be surprised if she starts leaking edited audio." I didn't respond right away. I knew she was capable of lies. But this wasn't a legal battle anymore. This was an assassination attempt. She wanted to destroy my reputation before the IPO announcement. Smear me into a cautionary tale so she could slither back into public sympathy. I hung up with Trevor and dialed Lily. No answer. I texted her. "Call me. It's urgent. Please." No response. That's when I knew Rachel had gotten to her already. By 4 p.m., Lily finally showed up at the house. I heard the front door creak and saw her standing in the entryway like a stranger. She had the envelope. She placed it silently on the coffee table. Her face was unreadable, flat, like she'd shut off whatever emotion might have surfaced. "I got this at Mom's place," she said. "She said it was from someone who's been following you." I didn't lie. "I went to see him," I said. "Charles. I want to end it." She sat down slowly. "And you didn't tell me?" "I couldn't risk it. You're already caught in enough crossfire." Lily stared at me. "She's saying you've been monitoring her, that you've been building a case against her for months, that you used me to bait her into a confession." I swallowed hard. "Do you believe that?" She didn't answer. "I didn't drag you into this," I said. "She did. You were her weapon. I tried to shield you from everything, Lily, but you're not a child anymore. You saw the letter. You know who she is now." Lily looked down. "She says you never forgave her for being more successful." I laughed. "Bitter. Quiet. That's what this is about? Success. She says you hated that people listened to her, that the company was only doing well once she took charge." "The company was doing well because I built it to withstand sabotage," I said. She walked in and started stripping wires off the engine while it was still running. Lily wiped her eye. "I don't know who to believe anymore." "You don't have to believe me," I said. "But ask yourself, who's trying to weaponize you right now? Who sent you that envelope?" She didn't respond. But she didn't leave, either. She stayed. Had dinner. Quiet, but present. Progress. The next morning, Forbes published the story. It hit like a thunderclap across every crypto and tech blog in the country. Blindfolded betrayal. Inside the Harris crypto coup. Anonymous sources. Timeline breakdowns. Partial screenshots. The exact quote from Rachel's letter to Charles. No name was attached to the source, but everyone knew. And Rachel? She was nowhere to be found. Her public profiles went dark. No statements. No denial. Silence. Until the email came. Sent from a disposable Proton mail address. Subject, "We're not done." No text in the body. Just an attachment. A single .mp4 file. I opened it. It was security footage. From inside my own house. Angle was low. Hidden camera. Kitchen corner. The footage was timestamped 2 months ago. It showed me on a call. Angry. Pacing. Saying something like, "If she screws me, I'll bury her. I swear to God, I'll bury her in court." I didn't remember saying it, but I didn't doubt I had. Context was gone. Audio grainy. But it looked bad. Real bad. I stared at the screen for a long moment. Then I leaned back in my chair. She still had weapons. But now? So did I. I clicked forward, attached the video, and sent it straight to Harper and Finch, along with a 2-line message. "They're escalating. Time to push back harder. This war wasn't over." But Rachel had made a mistake. She thought I'd break if she touched what I loved. She didn't realize she'd just lit the fuse on the part of me that doesn't forgive. The next 72 hours turned into a chess match with live ammunition. Rachel had gone underground, but her fingerprints were everywhere. She was throwing darts in the dark, hoping something would stick. Anonymous emails went out to former investors, painting me as erratic. Screenshots with blurred context. A voice note stitched together from 3 different conversations, all twisted to imply I was plotting to bankrupt her intentionally. None of it mattered to the board. But the court of public opinion? That was a battlefield of its own. The story Forbes ran had sparked a wildfire. Reddit threads, Twitter storms, YouTube grifters sniffing around like vultures. Half were treating me like a folk hero. The other half were foaming at the mouth, demanding a deeper expose. Rachel had pulled the ripcord on chaos. What she didn't expect was that I'd be calm inside it. I didn't chase the headlines. I chased her infrastructure. While she was busy leaking carefully edited drama, I was busy dismantling her digital fortress. Archer and I went back through every contract she ever touched. We found a licensing agreement filed through a third-party proxy, one she forged my approval for. It was tied to an intellectual property claim for a proprietary algorithm, mine. She'd listed herself as co-author. That was the final nail. I brought it to Harper and Finch. They didn't just draft a cease and desist. They filed a full-blown civil fraud suit. Intentional misattribution, corporate sabotage, unauthorized asset misappropriation. It wasn't just a civil case anymore. It was starting to smell criminal. And then the subpoenas hit, delivered to her gym, her condo, her sister's place in Baltimore. She couldn't hide from them all. That's when her new lawyer, a smug LA type with a perfect tan and a fake British accent, reached out. He called it a desperate play by a man afraid of losing his legacy. I called it evidence. I didn't respond to his offer to resolve this amicably. Instead, I sent a video file. The original, uncut footage from the security cam Rachel had tried to use against me. But this version had the full lead-up. The entire conversation. It showed Rachel mocking me on speakerphone with Charles, laughing about my code monkey anxiety, saying, "He'll threaten, but he won't pull the trigger. He never does." It ended with me, off the call, muttering, "If she screws me, I'll bury her. I swear to God, I'll bury her in court." In context, it was a promise, not a threat. Their response was silence. That afternoon, Lily came to me again. This time, she looked different, tired, older. Her eyes didn't dart anymore. They met mine, square. "She's losing it," she said. "Mom, she's not eating. She's locked herself in that condo with files and her laptop. Keeps saying she's going to take it all back. She already lost it," I said gently. "I think she's going to try something worse." I waited. She told me, if this gets bad enough, she might fake a breakdown. For sympathy. She said she'd get ahead of it. Maybe even get into a wellness clinic. Rebrand herself. Of course she did. Rachel wasn't just manipulative, she was strategic. Always 5 moves ahead, even in her own downfall. But now, I was 6 moves ahead. I handed Lily a sealed folder. "What's this?" she asked. "Evidence. The entire timeline. Dates, files, transfers. Every piece of the puzzle." She frowned. "Why give this to me?" "Because you're going to be subpoenaed," I said. "Soon. And you'll have a choice." Her throat tightened. "You want me to testify? I want you to tell the truth." She looked down, then back at me. "I will." She left the folder untouched, for now. But she didn't give it back. Later that night, my phone lit up with a notification. Levant issued a statement. Just 3 lines posted to his firm's website. Effective immediately, I am stepping away from all blockchain-related consulting services. I will be cooperating fully with any legal investigations. I regret my professional associations over the last year. No mention of Rachel. No denial. Just surrender. That was the signal I'd been waiting for. I sent one final message to Forbes. This time, with my name attached. Ready for part 2? And attached to that message, a copy of Rachel's wellness clinic application. Signed, time-stamped, dated 6 days before she resigned. She'd planned the breakdown before the breakdown ever happened. This wasn't a meltdown. It was a performance. And I was about to take the curtain down. Part 11 would be public. Part 11 would be war. They say when a building collapses, it doesn't happen all at once. You hear the groaning first. The beams crack. The pressure builds invisibly, until finally the supports give way and it all comes crashing down. That was Rachel. And part 11 was the collapse. It started with the press conference. I hadn't planned to speak publicly. I'd built my empire behind closed doors, preferring algorithms over applause. But Rachel had built her version of the truth on top of me like scaffolding, and it was time to burn it down. The room was packed. wall-to-wall with tech journalists, bloggers, live streamers, even a few ex-investors who just wanted to gawk. The Forbes story had gone viral. People wanted blood, truth, answers. I gave them all three. I stepped up to the podium in a charcoal suit. No tie. Calm. My voice didn't shake once. Good afternoon. My name is Mark Harris. You know me as the founder of Lyra Chain, the company my wife attempted to hijack through deceit, fraud, and personal betrayal. Today, I'm here to set the record straight and share everything I've held back. Until now, I laid it all out. The blindfolded signing, the shell companies, the offshore laundering, the letter to Charles Levant, the fabricated breakdown, the recordings, the edited footage, the manipulation of our daughter. Everything. I didn't spare details. And when the final slides rolled, Rachel's wellness clinic admission papers, dated before her public unraveling, the room went still. Dead silent. Then came the questions. I answered every one. No lawyer behind me. No PR filter. Just the facts, plain and cold. By the end, the headlines wrote themselves. Crypto King's wife stage breakdown after scheme unraveled. Father's Day betrayal. Mark Harris exposes wife's elaborate coup. He was blindfolded, then he buried her. Back home, I expected chaos. Instead, there was a knock on the door. Lily. She looked different. Not broken free. She stepped inside quietly. Her eyes found mine. I watched, she said. The whole thing. I nodded, unsure what to say. I'm sorry, she said. I let her twist everything. I let her lie to me about you. She's your mom, I said. You believed her because you loved her. That's not a mistake. She handed me the folder I'd given her, the evidence. I made copies, she said. For court. Then she hugged me. Tight. Real. I'm with you now, she whispered. And that's when the second wave hit. Rachel. She had seen the press conference. She'd seen the footage. She knew it was over. And like every cornered animal, she came out swinging. I got the alert at midnight. Her attorney had filed an emergency motion claiming I had doctored evidence, that I was mentally unstable, that I had weaponized our daughter and the media to destroy her career. She attached a sworn affidavit from a therapist Rachel had never met in person, declaring my behavior concerning and potentially dangerous. I didn't flinch, because I had the original email she sent to that therapist. She'd written the script herself. She told them what to say. And now, in a final act of desperation, she was trying to paint herself the victim of psychological abuse. It was grotesque, but it was also expected. She wasn't trying to win anymore. She was trying to drag me down with her. But the difference between us? I didn't need to throw dirt. The truth was enough. I sent the email thread, every message, every directive she'd written to the therapist, to Harper and Finch. Attached was the last voice recording Trevor captured 2 weeks prior. Rachel's voice, laughing. If he goes public, I'll just say he's mentally unstable. He's got the whole brooding tech guy vibe, it'll sell. We'll drop it in court, blame the stress, say I needed help. Boom. Sympathy vote. And then, he's not ruthless enough to fight that dirty. She was right about one thing. I wasn't ruthless. I was surgical. I didn't slash and burn. I cut out the infection. The next morning, I received a single and signed message. An email. No subject. Just 2 words. I surrender. It came from a burner. No apology. No remorse. But it didn't matter. Because in 24 hours, the court ruling would hit. The civil fraud case. The criminal referral. And the final transfer of ownership of Lyra Chain back into my name. I poured myself a drink, looked out at the skyline, and waited for the last stone to fall. The court hearing lasted 17 minutes. Rachel didn't show. Her lawyer did, flustered, alone, muttering about scheduling conflicts and last-minute mental health evaluations. But the judge wasn't interested. He'd read the briefs, watched the recordings, reviewed the letters, the altered footage, the therapy script that had backfired so spectacularly it almost felt satirical. His ruling was blunt, precise. All shares restored. Full financial restitution. Rachel barred from serving as officer or advisor in any company related to digital securities, indefinitely. Referral to the district attorney's office for criminal review. It was done. No applause. No catharsis. Just a quiet gavel and a whisper of paper shuffling. I stepped outside the courthouse and took a breath so deep it scraped the bottom of my lungs. Archer was waiting near the steps, sunglasses on, nodding as I walked past. "You know what comes next," he said. I nodded. Fallout. The headlines hit by lunchtime. Rachel Harris officially ousted after crypto coup attempt fails. Ex-wife of Lyra Chain founder under criminal investigation. She blindfolded him on Father's Day. Now he owns it all. By nightfall, every financial news feed lit up with the same message. Lyra Chain was back in my hands. And the IPO? Tripled. In 48 hours. Investors called it a comeback. But it wasn't. Comebacks imply loss. I never lost anything. I just let Rachel think she'd taken it. And while she celebrated, I built the net beneath her. Let her dance on the wire. Then pulled it tight. The house was quiet now. Too quiet, some might say, but I liked it that way. The framed painting that once hung by the door, the one Rachel had insisted on keeping as our symbol, was long gone. In its place now was the incorporation certificate of Lyra Chain, framed, glass cleaned daily. Not as a trophy. As a reminder. Lily came over that weekend. No drama. No tension. We cooked together simple stuff. Burgers. Fries. The kind of meal you eat when you're trying to feel normal again. She handed me her college applications that night. Said she wanted to study forensic accounting. I almost choked on my beer. "Because of your mom?" I asked. "Because of you," she said. "Because I watched you take something broken and not just fix it, but turn it around without becoming like her." I nodded. Said nothing. Didn't trust my voice. Later that night, after she left, I opened my laptop one last time. There were still 82 voicemails from Rachel. Never played. All time-stamped in that desperate window between Forbes publishing the story and her final text. I surrender. I hovered over the oldest one. My finger twitched. Then stopped. No. I deleted them all. One by one. No curiosity. No nostalgia. Because what I needed to hear had already been said. Not in voicemails. Not in court. But in the silence that followed when the world saw the truth and believed it. And just like that, my story was no longer a tragedy. It was a warning. You can blindfold a man. You can lie to his face. You can even try to steal everything he built. But when that man stops playing your game, you'd better run. Because if he's quiet, that means he's already winning.